welcome to my new YouTube channel. I'm very glad to be here. For my first video, I decided to do my top 7 books of 2017. Now, these are going to be in no particular order. I just love all these books. I highly recommend them, and I just want to have a positive video so everyone kind of gets to know my personal reading taste and how they align with yours. Let's just get into it. Book number 1 is Queens of Geek by Jen Wilde. And this book follows our 3 main characters, Charlie, Jamie, and Taylor. And basically, it's a very diverse book because Charlie is a bisexual Chinese YouTuber who has been featured in an Australian film and is getting very more famous and more popular, and she's going to this con, similar to Comic-Con, in California to try to promote her sequel to the movie that she did. And it's just a great exploration of fandom and geekiness and cons and friendships and internet friendships and just all these stuff that I personally love and I feel like I'm a part of, and I just love a book that explores that type of culture. We also have Taylor, who is on the autism spectrum and has anxiety, and she has to deal with being in a very public place with a lot of strangers that she doesn't really know. And she's entering this contest for Queen Firestone, which is a series of books that she's absolutely obsessed with. And they're just such a great 3 friendships. There's an on-page female-female romance, which is the cutest romance ever, fam. If you have not read this book, I don't know what you're doing with your life. I've been shouting about it on all my social medias for months, it seems, because I want everyone to read this book. It is my favorite book of 2017, the number 1 book that I've read, my favorite book of all time list, and I would highly recommend for you to check it out if you haven't. The second book is Noteworthy by Riley Redgate. Now, this book I read kind of on a whim. I haven't read her previous books in 7 Ways in Which We Lie, which I've heard is fantastic, but Noteworthy follows a Chinese bisexual teenager who is at this school where there's an all-male a cappella group, but Jordan, who is a female, is very, very extremely talented in singing, but she has a very lower voice range. So she decides to disguise herself as a boy and deceive her way into the group, into the a cappella group, and she just has so much fun singing and competing and making new friends, and just being a part of this a cappella culture and exclusive group really builds her up. And it's a great exploration of music and what it means to perform music, what it means to create music, how it makes you feel. And it was just, and also an exploration of her bisexuality and just feelings that she's having for certain people in the group. And I thought it was an excellent book. I genuinely enjoyed it. It was like almost eating candy. It was very fluffy. There are obviously deeper themes in it, but it was just such a great read. Next book is Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. But I read her book, her debut book, Made You Up, in 1 day, and I couldn't get enough of her storytelling. Her storytelling is just so perfect. I don't know how to say it. So I immediately picked up her newest book, Eliza and Her Monsters, which is such a great picture of fandom and art and the artist and what it means to be anonymous as an artist. So Eliza is the creator of this famous, popular comic series. And she's been working on this for years. She's always remained anonymous. No one really knows her identity. And she never thought that her creation would explode so much, that she gets so many millions of followers. And kind of like the pressure's on, she feels a little bit like she's doing her art for other people, not for herself, which is something that she struggles with a lot. Also, there's this new boy in school that she meets, Wallace. He is one of the top fan fiction writers for her comics, and he's very active on her forums. And Eliza has lots of internet friends, which she chats with, and there's transcripts of that, and there's pictures of her comics within the book, illustrations, and it's just a very realistic approach to teen fandom culture. And she's trying to balance like social stuff in school and her family and her parents, having good quality of comics, and it's just such a great book with such a supportive romance. Our main character has anxiety, is very It's very explains what it means to be inside the head of a creator like that. And I just fell in love with the book. I just could not stop reading it. I was just sitting and reading it, and in one sitting, it just captured my attention. It enraptured me, made me absolutely fall in love with Eliza. And everything about her life, I was just enamored. I was like, this book is amazing. I could not look away. Would highly recommend. If you have not read Eliza and Her Monsters, please run, don't walk to the bookstore to get it. The next book that I read this year that I absolutely adored was When Dimple Met Rishi. So if you're online, on Twitter at all, or on any social media, this is an extremely hyped book, and it features two Indian American teenagers who goes to this coding camp, because that's what she wants to do for her future career, and she's very surprised when her ultra-conservative parents let her go. Rishi knows about this arranged marriage between their two Indian American parents, but Dimple does not know about this. So when they first meet, it's a kind of an intense encounter, because Dimple feels like Rishi's just approaching her and is like, "You're gonna be my wife," and she's like, "No," and she throws a cup of coffee at him because she thinks he's a creep. And the story goes on from there, and it just has such an adorable romance. They just are so perfect together. Like, they obviously have their problems, but they really know how to communicate, which I liked, and just work together as a team later on in the book. And I was just underlining and annotating the hell out of this book. It was fantastic. I can't describe how amazing this book is. If you have not read When Dimple Met Rishi, you need to do yourself a favor. It is an absolutely amazing book with a badass female character who's independent, knows her own mind, and is just my inspiration. The next book that I read is The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane by Lisa See. This book is so unique. It explores a topic that I knew nothing about, and now I feel so blessed and so rich that I have all this knowledge about Chinese tea making. We follow Li Yan, she and her family grow tea leaves and sell them up in the mountains of China with this specific tribe people, or they have a certain culture and a certain religion and certain customs. And so she gets pregnant out of wedlock to her soon-to-be husband, who is just absent. And so her mom, who is the midwife of the village, helps her in secret give birth to her daughter, and then she has to give up her daughter up for adoption at a local orphanage. So her whole life she's going around never forgetting about the daughter that she gave birth to, years ago. So she goes on to have a successful life, but she's never truly fulfilled because her daughter isn't there with her to celebrate all the milestones. Meanwhile, Haley, the daughter, is living the American life in California. She lives on Hummingbird Lane, and she has very supportive parents. However, they don't understand really her culture, and they can't. And she has this artifact from her mom, this little round tea that just is always kind of like a memorial. And she really wants to find her family. She really wants to find her biological mother. She's on a trip to China, and I'll just leave it there. It is an amazing book. The writing is gorgeous. I reread it, and this book is 500 pages, and I read this book twice this year. That's how amazing it was. I couldn't stop thinking about how descriptive and lovely and just informative this book is, how much I learned about tea, how much I learned about Chinese culture, how much I learned about just all the characters, how much I connected with them and I felt for them. It was just an amazing, immersive read. And I would highly recommend it. It's so underrated. I've never heard anyone really talk about it on BookTube or in social media. I personally absolutely loved this one. Next book is Geekerella by Ash Post. Now this book is the cutest book, telling of Cinderella, and our main character is Elle. Her father died a couple years ago, and she is a huge fan of a show similar to Star Trek. And her father is the founder of ExcelsiCon, which is a conference for all the fans of that show. And so she has kind of like a wicked stepmother who doesn't want her to be stuck in this fantasy world and wants her to get down to real life. She works in a place called the Magic Pumpkin, which serves vegan food in a public park. there are recasts to the new show, or like they're having a remake of like a movie for the Star Trek show. And so the actor is Darren Freeman, which he thinks is a jerk, a snob. He doesn't know anything about the show. Like, he's not suited for the character. Just hates the casting. She's very angry. She's a viral blog called Rebel Gunner. And Darren Freeman wants to cancel his ticket to ExceliCon because his manager signed him up. He doesn't want to go because of bad memory. He gets the number accidentally to Elle's father's old cell phone, which she owns. So they start texting, not knowing who the other person is. So you as the reader, you know who both of the people are. But they start texting and flirting and kind of getting really intense relationship, if you know what I'm talking about. Slipper, it's like really like accurate retelling. And it's just so adorable. Like, I think I liked this book more than like Cinderella, like the original. It was just fantastic. I reread it already, and it's just so good. Like, it portrays like how much it means to have supportive friends and family around you. What it means to not be able to do the thing that you love and that you're passionate about, and what it means to do the thing that you love and you're passionate about. Would highly recommend. If you have not gone and bought this book, now's the time to do it, because this book will make you laugh, will make you cry, will make you giggle and smile and have all the feels. Now, last but not least, this book, I think it changed my life. I'm not trying to be dramatic. It is called Starfish by Akemi Dawn Bowman. Now, this book follows Kiko, a half-Japanese girl who has an extremely mentally and emotionally abusive mother, and who doesn't understand her and her culture. And her father is divorced with her mother, so she lives at her mother's house. And she's just at school, she's very socially shy, she doesn't really have a lot of friends. She's really into art. She makes all these beautiful paintings and sketches and drawings, and she suffers with anxiety. This book was what I was looking for. Like, I needed this book. It just portrays, there's on page anxiety, Japanese rep, and also trigger warning to sexual assault. And there's just a very difficult situation with her sexual assaulter, which is a part of her family, and her parents just don't really understand. Her mother just doesn't really understand her. It is a great exploration into rediscovering yourself, into creating art that makes you happy, into what it means to escape a house where you've been beaten down for so long and go move on your own and be a free human being that just can fly. This book was, it was brilliant. It just made me feel like I could fly. But like, if Kiko can overcome these things, so can I. Like, she rediscovers an old best friend that she had when she was younger, and she goes with him to California, and she visits art schools there, people that really inspire and motivate her to do what she loves to do. She is free from the toxic abuse from her mother, even though she still gets phone calls. She's free of that in the sense that she doesn't live there anymore, and she just has to grapple with her identity. It was fantastic. The whole book blew me away. It was one of the best books I've literally ever read. After I read it, I was just like, wow. I was in such a book hangover. I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I just felt like I had a hole in my heart from that book. Just amazing. It's breathtaking. It will change your life like it changed mine. And I highly, highly recommend that everyone give this one a shot. So that's all. That's my top 7 books of 2017 so far. I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back here. Happy reading. Goodbye.